RJ Fuqua as well as Emmanuel Nezekwezi. For the Iowa Hawkeyes, it's been the same starting five. It's Jack Nunge, CJ Frederick, Joe Wieskamp, Connor McCaffrey, and Luka Garza.
Yeah, when you look again at ORU, they have got
only 27% from three, but they've attempted the 8th most in the country at 32 per game. But we're set for the tip. It's O'Banner versus Nunge. Hawkeyes in white, Eagles in navy.
Hawkeyes get it, and I would expect both teams to start man-to-man. Both coaches prefer that. They want to stop the basketball. It's hard to stop it when you're in a zone.
Nunge with it, drive, left-hand finish, too far, and Nezekwezi with the board.
And you could see right there the coaches and the players wanting to get Nunge going early, let him take his man one-on-one, got to the rim, and threw it over the backside of the rim.
Emmanuel Nezekwezi knocks down the open three at the top of the key, and McCaffrey brings it back up the floor. Nezekwezi, a big man, 6'8", but can stroke it 50% from three.
Yeah, both of the big players there. Nezekwezi has done it for a couple years, and O'Bannon just starting.
And Garza with the answer. Two big men stretching the floor in the early going. Another answer, and that one's too long by Asmus, and the rebound to Frederick.
And you saw how Asmus got down court, and it was like 1-on-3, and he still put it up. Nunge.
Jack Nunge with the three, and Iowa back-to-back trays, one by Garza, and now one by Nunge.
And right away, the coaching staff got up and said, hey, just because he made it doesn't mean we don't play defense. He's yelling at him to get back because, as you've already seen, ORU really pushes the basketball. And as you indicated, they shoot threes. Half their shots are three-point shots.
That three ball by Jack Nunge was actually his first field goal this year, coming off the redshirt year. A little rusty, but maybe seeing that ball go in the hoop could be good for him.
You know, against DePaul, you could really tell. Looked like he had kind of the starry-eyed look. He stood around, wasn't really in the flow of the game, and that'll happen when we have to sit out here.
Burns trucks over Frederick, an offensive foul. Frederick takes the charge, possession switches. It's 6-3, only threes in the early going of this one.
I thought it was interesting today at the shoot-around when we talked to CJ. I said, does it stand for anything? And he said, Charles Joseph Frederick Jr. I said, well, it's a good thing they don't have to put it all on your jersey.
Nunge hits that one as well, a 15-footer from the baseline. He's got 5.
That's where they got to relax him a lot and actually relax his teammates because they like him. They want him to get going. They know somebody 7 foot that can shoot like he can could be really important in the Big Ten.
Feed is Nezekwezi, faces up on Nunge. Reverse layup, that one's good. Nezekwezi off the dribble.
Yeah, Nezekwezi showing you he could probably play in a higher league than the Summer League. And he's got the thick body, and now Nunge looking to go again.
It's Frederick outside. Grabbed by Burns on the board. You mentioned Nezekwezi could play somewhere else. Right around 15 points per game. Leads the team in rebounds with over 7.5, but the runner good from DeAndre Burns.
And that's something they missed last year. That point guard who knew and understood how to be a point in terms of either passing or shooting, and there he used the floater.
Garza with it. Double team collapses. Kick out. McCaffrey. Back iron no good. Corral for the ball. It's gathered by Fuqua, and it's up ahead. Burns with the top of the key. It's Nezekwezi taking Nunge once again in the paint. Kick out. It's Fuqua. Dish off. Nezekwezi can't get that one to go, and Nunge grabs the rebound. Iowa looks to run.
Well, you could really see last time down court what the defensive philosophy is going to be of ORU double anytime it goes inside. And that was something you could see on the tape with the DePaul game. They just doubled Iowa every time it went inside.
Worked for DePaul. They got out to a 13-0 run to start that game. Never looked back. Iowa didn't have an answer throughout that game, and this is their chance to get back. The lone bright spot in that game, Joe Toussaint and Ryan Craner, they had a pair, but Toussaint, a lot of fans wanted him to get a start, but we mentioned before this one, you don't make a lineup change after one bad game.
Yeah, one bad game or one good game doesn't get you a starting position, especially since you've been working with one unit primarily for the last 4 weeks, and you're comfortable where you are, and you understand that Fran is very good about rotating players, and if you play well in a game, you're going to stay in there, and if you're not playing well, you're going to sit out.
Garza misses the front end of a pair. Iowa's 25th in the country. Field free throw percentage right around 80% as Garza sinks the second one. It's 9-7 in favor of Iowa. Early press from Iowa, and it forces a turnover.
Yep. Good pressure. It has to be disappointing for Coach Mills because they worked on Iowa's pressure during their shoot-around, and he really had a good press break. But there's a difference when somebody 6'8", 6'9" charges at you.
Oral Roberts didn't get here to Carver Hawkeye till about 6:10. A lot of traffic. It's family weekend and a big football game coming up. McCaffrey kicked out. It's Frederick off the dribble. Stops. Dish to Nunji. And he gets the layup to go amidst some traffic. O'Banner to charge, but Nunji the layup.
Already the Iowa team. I mean, if you said, is this a basketball team? They look like it. They act like it. They've got some intensity about them at the defensive end. And so far, the basketball IQ has been good, except at the defensive end. They've got to really stop the ball.
O'Banner throws that away. It's McCaffrey, Wieskamp in front. The dish to him, and the layup is good. Iowa running the floor. Connor McCaffrey gets the assist there. Connor leads the team in assists, averaging 3 per game right now. He's taken over as the starting one guard with the question marks around Jordan Bohannon. Nezequazia's shots blocked.
And with Connor, we talked again to Coach McCaffrey today, and he said he's going to try and use him at all 3 perimeter spots. That way he can get quickness at the guards and still have pretty good size with Connor at the 3 position.
McCaffrey listed at 6'5", but it was 6'6" Joe Wieskamp, the guard, with the layup there. O'Banner, 3-ball, splashes it home. Kevin O'Banner knocks that down. He's been struggling from the floor, only 25%, but he bangs that one home. Frederick off the dribble. He's fouled. It's Fuqua that gives the... Welcome back to Carver Hawkeye Arena. Iowa an early 5-point lead, 15-10 over Oral Roberts. John Rawson, Mac McCausland with me, as well as the third member of our crew, Ben Collin. Inbound, it's McCaffrey. Nunji with the ball. And Ben, talk a little bit about what Jack has brought and the offseason changes he's had.
Yeah, it looks like some newfound confidence from him tonight. These first couple games, he looked a little rusty. Didn't have a field goal in the opening games for the Hawkeyes. Now tonight, he's already got 7 points on the board, and we're seeing him shoot right here. It looks like he started to find his mojo again. He's put on 20 pounds, though, during the offseason. So this is that redshirt year. They used it to build him up, and it's finally looked like he's starting to get his groove back.
Thanks, Ben. You mentioned Jack Nunji, those extra pounds, maybe trying to find his new body type a little bit, definitely put on some muscle.
And he has got the skills literally to play every position. Depends who guards him. If it was a quick point guard, he'd have trouble, but he literally can ball handle, pass it, shoot inside, outside. He's really got a complete package. He's just getting more and more confidence in playing time.
Wieskamp with it now. Luka Garza from the outside splashes that one home. Garza has developed that part of his game a lot over the course of the last year and a half.
And it really makes him a difficult threat because if he can go outside at his size and shoot over people, inside you can really look for mismatches with Chris crossing down below.
O'Banner double dribbles Oral Roberts, the turnover in Iowa, a chance to make it a double-digit game as both Ryan Kriener and Jordan Bohannon check in as Nunji and Frederick will have a seat.
And as we know, Jordan Bohannon injured from last year as having plantar fasciitis and then also having an operation on his hip. They really don't know, and he doesn't know what's going to happen in terms of his redshirt year. He can play up to 1/3 of the games, which would be roughly game 10 or 11, and still take a red shirt.
Garza knocks home another jumper. He's feeling it right now in the early portion of this contest. 7 points, 9 points, 3 of 4 from the floor. Here's A-Smith, Bohannon facing him up. Sam Kearns, ball fake, kick out. A-Smith, he'll fire. Back iron, no good, and Wieskamp the board. McCaffrey back up the floor, Wieskamp the trailer. Driving the paint, we'll see a foul, 2 shots for Wieskamp.
Well, so far you really haven't seen either team stop the ball and make it go left to right. They have gotten in front of it, and maybe made them pass it once or twice, but they really haven't stopped the basketball.
Pair of shots for Wieskamp. He's coming off a nice freshman year, was an all-Big Ten freshman. Just over 11 points per game, and the big stat, 42% from three last year.
Yeah, he's a terrific shooter, athlete, and in his bounce, he can do it very quickly around the rim, so it doesn't like he has to gather and go up, and that allows him to get fouled like that when he goes in for a dunk.
One more on the way from Wieskamp. And he stretches the Iowa lead to 12. Iowa's going to stick with that full court press, try to force those turnovers as Burns throws that away. So right on cue, Iowa brings the press and they get another turnover.
What they wanted to do in their press break is bring it down and throw it backward. So Iowa really had to extend their press, and they're throwing it forward, which is right into where the defenders are. And here's Joe Toussaint, who really showed well the other night against DePaul.
A good spark plug for Iowa, the freshman from the Bronx, New York. Garza, drop step layup high off glass and in. And Iowa right now offensively looks really good. Here's Fuqua. Kick out, it's Kearns. In the paint, stolen away. Bohannon brings it up. Iowa with numbers. Stop and pop, long three, fading right. It's an air ball from Bohannon. Trying to pull up, find his stroke early on.
And, of course, that's in his range. Other people might say, hey, what are you taking that shot for? But anybody that watched him play last year, one of the really big-time game shooters, especially late in the game, bringing Iowa back 2 or 3 times. Northwestern last year was pretty spectacular.
Last season certainly was the backbone, the emotional leader of the team, and I would like to see him on the floor down the stretch of this season, but if he's not good to go, this is still an Iowa team that has a bright future, and they could use him next year as well. So that's a part of that timeline they've yet to determine.
And they also needed to find out if Toussaint, as a freshman, could play at this level, and how McCaffrey would be with his minutes. And so far, if they need to possibly take a red shirt with Jordan, I think they've got the right people still out there.
RJ Fuqua with the layup, goes through traffic and gets it to go. The 5'11 guard from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Garza, turnaround, no good. Gets his own rebound. 3 defenders there, and we'll see us.
One school in the country that we have that at, John.
Thanks, Ben, and it is unique that there are 3 of them. Patrick McCaffrey out today. He is under the weather, but Connor, that starting one guard.
Yeah, and I think everybody kind of knows Patrick's story. He had cancer, and actually the day of the operation on his thyroid, Coach McCaffrey coached the Iowa team in the NCAA tournament play-in game in Dayton against Tennessee. So that year was really tough on the family, but everything has been very good since then. And obviously Patrick has recovered, still wants to put on a little weight, and then he can really use his physicalness. Plus he has great hand skills.
Toussaint takes the foul up top, giving defensive pressure to DeAndre Burns. The couple stats that stick out so far: Iowa, no turnovers, and they're shooting 53% from the floor, Matt.
Yeah, the no turnovers is pretty impressive, because that's what ORU likes to do, is speed you up. And so far, Iowa has made 2 quick passes and gotten shots off.
Lazenby, his shot off glass, no good. Kriener the rebound. Pemsel and Bakari Evelyn out on the floor for Iowa. Bohannon the dish to Pemsel. He swatted away Nezekwesi. Oral Roberts out to run once again. Lazenby the layup, and that one's in.
Looked like he may have traveled. They were small steps, but I think the number was too many.
Pemsel backing down.
Coming back really from almost missing all of last year.
Yep.
And back in September, October, you really had to look at, can Pemsel come back and how effective can he be? Do you want to redshirt Patrick? Are there other options available? And, of course, you had Evelyn coming in as a transfer. So you just really didn't know where your team was. And, quite frankly, they still don't know where the minutes will go over the next month or so.
You mentioned that, and a lot of fans may be ready to jump ship already after a tough loss to DePaul, but it is important. It's a new team. They have to stay the course as much as possible, and I think Fran knows that.
Yeah, and that DePaul game was as good a start I have seen an opponent put on. I kind of used the adage that Mike Tyson used about everybody's got a great game plan until they get smacked in the face.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what DePaul did. They just jumped on them 13-0, and Iowa just never recovered.
Here's Lazenby with it after the Bohannon bucket, and we'll see a foul on Cordell Pemsel at the top of the key, giving that perimeter defense.
That's what they've got to find. The Hawkeyes have got to find one of their bigs that can go out and guard the perimeter. Because you've got 4 good-sized bigs with Kriener, with Pemsel, and, of course, the starting 2, Nunzi and Garza. But you've got to be able to still guard perimeter. People are playing with 4 out a lot now.
Banner misses a couple shots, continues to get his own rebounded for his efforts. He'll be awarded a pair of foul shots. Redshirt sophomore from Houston, Texas. He's averaging 7 points and 7 rebounds per game, but big stat, around a 90% foul shooter in the early portion of the year.
Oral Roberts. For some people, maybe like a little history, Oral Roberts was an evangelist. But it was one of those at the time when Billy Graham and probably Oral Roberts were the 2 people around the country that everybody knew as an evangelist.
College at Tulsa, Oklahoma, a private Christian university, as you mentioned, playing in the Summit League. And this isn't a slouch team in the Summit League. They're a top 3 preseason pick almost across the board.
Yeah, and last year it was South Dakota State. TJ Ohlensberger able to be their coach, and they had Dom, who got drafted, a 6'8" shooter. So it's a good league.
Bohannon, a tough follow-away 3 right in front of the Golden Eagles bench. She knocks it down. Bohannon 5 points off the bench for Iowa. Here's Sam Kearns directing traffic. Close defense from Evelyn. Screen from O'Banner. Kearns will take it. Fuquay, kick out. Extra pass, it's Kearns. That one goes home. Sam Kearns knocks it home, a 40% three-point shooter.
And Evelyn a little slow in getting back to his man. He gave a little help, but you can't leave your man so far as if the ball gets reversed or skipped, you can't get back there. And that's the thing he'll learn at this level. Valpo is where he came from, but of course, players there versus players at the Big Ten level, just a little quicker, a little longer.
Banks not closed on Fridays as Lazenby banks now home that 3. It's now 31-21 in favor of the Hawkeyes. Iowa is in the bonus with about 10 minutes left to go. That's huge for an Iowa team that shoots 80% from the stripe.
Yeah, and, they have a chance to shoot 35, 43 throws tonight. And that three-pointer by ORU, I think now we've seen 2 of them by Iowa opponents in 2 games. DePaul did it at the top of the key, and that's a tough shot to want to ever bank. That tells you how bad a shooter he was.
First shot from Kriener. That one rolls out. Front end of a 1-and-1. Iowa can't convert. Empty possession for the Hawkeyes, and it's Fuquay with it. Picks up his dribble. Stuck with it. Gives it off to Lazenby, who did bank home that 3. Back to Fuquay. 15 on the shot clock. Fakes, gets Kriener to jump, gives it off. Lazenby gets poked by Toussaint, and they'll call a foul. Fans don't like it too much here in Carver, but Joe Toussaint the reach in.
And Toussaint, people have had a chance to see him a couple times. And you got to like his toughness, his quickness. And he was a player that was recruited Wichita State, Dayton. And if you think Dayton over the years, he's the exact body type. 6'9", 6'10", quick, tough.
Ball on the ground. Oral Roberts screaming for a timeout. Welcome back inside Carver. Oral Roberts with the ball. Joe Toussaint just taken off the floor. And Ben, you saw something with Toussaint the last 3 times down the floor.
John, he picked up his second foul, so that's one thing. But the last couple times down the floor, he had been at a huge mismatch. Toussaint's not that big, and he was going against Lafoulle, who's 6'8". Massive mismatch. He was overmanned, and so they pulled it. Fran McCaffrey switched him out of the game to get Connor McCaffrey, who's got a little bit more size.
And when you really look at Fran's rules, generally speaking, if you get 2 fouls in the first half, you sit the rest of the half, whether it's for a minute or whether it's for 18 minutes.
Never want to pick up a third first half foul.
No.
You play the rest of the game in some serious danger. That's playing with fire.
And what can happen if you've got 3 fouls, the opposing coach really at halftime starts to direct a couple 3 plays, especially early, to try and get somebody a 4th foul. This way you can play a little freely, much more so than if you had the 3rd foul.
Cordell Pemsel to the line for a 1-and-1. 2 for 2 so far this season. Back irons that one, and O'Banner the rebound. Iowa hasn't converted too well at the charity stripe today. 3 for 8. Fuqua, O'Banner, open 3. Back iron, no good. Back-to-back ugly shots down the floor. Here's McCaffrey. Entry feed, it's Pemsel, but O'Banner a push in the back. That's what created all that space for Pemsel, and he'll likely get a 1-and-1 with a foul on the floor.
McCaffrey did a terrific job of pass faking to the right, bringing the ball back to the left side. The man had shifted and gave him a pretty good lane to bounce past it inside to Pemsel. See if we can get some easy shots here.
Pemsel splashes home the first free throw after missing the front end of the 1-and-1 the last time down the floor. Iowa's team is 3 for their last 4 as that one rattles out, and the rebound grabbed by Oral Roberts, and here comes Fuqua. Kearns works it over. It's back to Fuqua. Face up by McCaffrey. Iowa switching on almost every screen. So Lufile, who walks
well at the university in terms of recruiting, building a program that really had slid down prior 10 years, and now he has it back to where last couple of years in the NCAA tournament. And you would think if this team can stay together, no injuries, they'll have a great chance to do it again. And most coaches give their personality to their team. And Fran likes to be a little fiery once in a while, and he really gets the kids playing up and down tempo. So see what happens the rest of the year, because there's so many new faces.
It is a very different Iowa team. Bakari Evelyn, who's out on the floor right now, a grad transfer from Valpo. Then you mentioned a couple freshmen that are getting their playing time with Patrick McCaffrey out today, but also Joe Toussaint.
Yeah, and you know Nunji by seeing his face, and you certainly saw C.J. Frederick last year, but neither of them played. So you've got 2 starters that really had no minutes last year.
Sam Kearns knocks down the bucket, makes it a 9-point game. Iowa only 1 turnover. That was that travel last time down the floor. Big difference. Iowa has 10 points off of turnovers, only 2 for Oral Roberts. Evelyn, extra pass. McCaffrey fakes it, takes it in the paint against O'Banner, and finishes high off the glass.
Right there is exactly why Coach McCaffrey thinks his son can play the 3 position, because he does have length, he does have strength, and he can move the ball around as he gets up in the air and get the shot off. Some of the shorter perimeter players wouldn't be able to make that move.
Kearns with it against Evelyn. Iowa up by 11. Clock ticks under 6:45. Fuqua, extra dribble, and finishes above the 6'11 Nunji. A whole foot in the height differential there. Fuqua still the bucket. Pemsel backs down, a double team. Nunji, extra pass is deflected, and RJ Fuqua takes it away. 1-on-1 against Bohannon, and he can't get the finish, maybe looking for contact. Here's Pemsel with an extra pass. Connor McCaffrey, and the foul. Pass from Pemsel. McCaffrey takes it, finishes through the contact, and he'll see a chance for a 3-point play.
McCaffrey, Iowa's point guard, doing a terrific job with his really second year of full experience. But I think we would like to send some thoughts and prayers to Michigan State and their family.
Absolutely.
As Cassius Winston, their All-American point guard, lost his younger brother in an accident with a train last weekend. Yet Cassius came out, played 2 great games.
Yes.
One last night was terrific against Seton Hall.
McCaffrey rattles home that free throw. It's Fuqua with it. Iowa playing that pressure defense as far out as possible. It's Burns with it. Frederick runs into a banner on the screen, but Burns gives it away, and Garza the steal. Iowa will slow things down a little bit. So McCaffrey up the floor, gets a screen from Garza. Kick out Nunji. He'll take that 3. Back iron no good. Knew that one was off right away. Here's Frederick, a second chance, and C.J. Frederick knocks home the triple. Iowa extends their lead to 15, and C.J. Frederick, we mentioned one of those new faces, took a redshirt year, but he's been a walking bucket right now, 10 points per game, shooting 70% from the floor. Here's Fuqua with it.
And now Iowa goes zone. Coach McCaffrey likes to mix it up and see what they can do, especially with a lengthy lineup. And you've got McCaffrey at 6'5", and you said as a point guard. That takes away some passing lanes.
Burns on the skip pass, airballs it, but O'Banner grabs the rebound and puts it home with only 2 on the shot clock. The gap is 13. That's how Iowa leads, and they have 13 points off of turnovers. Here's Wieskamp. Tries to pass to Nunge, but Fuqua might have got a hand on the forearm of Joe Wieskamp, and he'll get charged the foul.
I'm interested to watch Nunge right now as he missed his last shot, and fairly badly. Will he come right back and shoot it now and have some confidence? Or does he restrict himself, and therefore you really have your team playing 4-on-5?
Nunge made those first couple shots, got himself some confidence, but it's the adversity he's got to jump over. Wieskamp back irons the first free throw, and Iowa has not been good from the charity stripe today. 5 for 12.
And as you indicated, one of the top really free throw attempt teams as well as percentage making teams.
Second one from Wieskamp. That one's in. So Joe Wieskamp knocks home free throw number 2. It's a 14-point lead for Iowa. Oral Roberts has certainly cooled off. They've made only one of their last 4 threes. And Iowa's gone into that zone, basically forcing them to chuck it from farther out. That zone is stretched out quite a bit.
And there is the new line this year where they have moved it back about 9 inches. So you really are looking to take a 28, 25-foot shot.
Asmus takes one of them, short irons it, but a foul. Jack Nunge goes out and clips Mac Asmus, and he'll see 3 foul shots. And Coach Fran McCaffrey doesn't look too happy on the bench.
That's a thing I hate to say you can avoid, but it's very seldom you really need to get caught in the air against a three-point shooter. Nunge, just with his length, would be able to close out and still force a higher shot.
Asmus splashes home the first foul shot, a 75% free throw shooter. He's one of 3 players on this Oral Roberts team averaging over 14 points per game at 15.3. Primarily a three-point shooter, I mentioned, second in the country with 38 coming into today. Then you tack on top of that the other 2. He's now at 40 on the year.
I do like the perimeter players. They have done a pretty good job working together. When you look at how Burns has done, and then Asmus.
Garza, back iron, no good. Karam for the ball. It's grabbed by O'Banner and dishes up ahead. It's Asmus. He'll run it. O'Banner drives in against the zone, tries to dish off to Lufile, but C.J. Coslin and Mack, it's been a good one. Iowa's definitely settled into a groove offensively, but it's been their defense lately that's gotten them out to this lead.
Yeah, and as you look at right now, they probably will go to a zone as soon as the ball comes inbounds and not allow ORU to get an easy basket. Now they drop back into the 1-2-2. And they'll make RU take a few seconds off the clock to get organized.
10 seconds on the shot clock already. Fuqua drives on Frederick. Kick out. It's O'Banner. Hits 3. Front iron no good. And a rebound to Jack Nunge.
It's good that Nunge's still active. He's got 4 rebounds now. I'd like to see him get one more shot this first half.
C.J. Frederick, open corner 3. Rebound. It's Wieskamp. That one's short. Battle for it, kick out, Connor McCaffrey the fake, and a drive, and that's going to be a foul on Max Asmus.
And another rebound by Jack Nunge. Like I said, there's no question the team knows, the coaches know, and he knows they're going to need me this year to perform. Whether that means some night get points, some night block shots. He probably is actually Iowa's best shot blocker. Timing of the ball, the length, and he's got pretty good feet to recover to get to a ball on the weak side.
McCaffrey hits the first foul shot. Iowa now 7 of 14 from the stripe. One more on the way, a chance to make it a 13-point game. and that one's good as well. So Connor McCaffrey, 2 of 2. DeAndre Burns with it. And there's a foul on Connor McCaffrey right here in front of us.
And Connor disagrees a little bit, but he did reach out his hands and cut across the arms of Burns. Not much contact that was disturbing the ball, but still the contact the same way.
We'll see 2 shots from DeAndre Burns, but Ben, you see something. What do you see?
You mentioned that Connor McCaffrey, he had the foul there. Now the interesting thing, Connor's perfect on the season for free throws. He's 3 for 3 today, came into this game one of only about 50 players left in the country that are still perfect from the line. He's continuing that here this evening.
And Burns on the other end makes a pair of free throws. It's an 11-point lead, 43-32. Both teams in the bonus for the last 3 minutes. Here's Garza with it back out on the floor. He's only played 12 minutes of this first half, but he's got 11 points. McCaffrey to the basket, and that left-hand layup is good. And Iowa back up in front 13. Their offense in full effect, shooting 55%.
And people may not know, or they'll forget because it's basketball season, Connor McCaffrey is really a terrific prospect in baseball. And still doing both sports. Maybe some discussion someday just do one sport, but right now he's having fun with his dad and his brother.
And a perfect dish right there to Luka. Garza, who finishes and high-fives Connor on a beautiful feed. And yeah, you mentioned his ability to play 2 sports, a good power-hitting outfielder and working on that defensive game, but at 6'6", he could be a big tool for a minor league team professionally, find himself in an organization, but this size also helps him a lot on the basketball court.
Yeah, there just aren't many players that have either the IQ, the physical ability to play 2 sports at the major college level. You find it at the high school level. Some people can play 2 or 3 sports even at a pretty high level. But when you get here, everybody's pretty good. And for you to get better, you got to spend a lot of time at it.
And he ends up joining the baseball team late. He did so last year because of that NCAA tournament run and was still able to contribute. Iowa's starting outfielder throughout all of conference season, as Garza's first foul shot is no good, rolls off the rim. Under 2 minutes left to go in this first half. Iowa leads by 13.
I know in the fall Connor would go over and get batting practice in and be one of the first guys to do that, and then come over to the gym and work out with the basketball players. So, and now you got to be a pretty bright kid as well to stay eligible.
Yeah. Well, and then in the late winter, too, I know he joined and was doing a lot of throwing and hitting as well amidst basketball season and still having class. You mentioned a busy schedule, but he loves it, and he's continued to embrace it. Asmus, corner 3. That one's good from Max Asmus. Narrows the gap to 11. If Oral Roberts can keep it within single digits, that's striking range for them. And Nunji's 3. That one's good. He finds it back.
I love that because the time in between, there was a couple errors, mistakes maybe he made, and he still felt confident enough to take that and make it. Totally different game for him than it was a DePaul game.
10 points for Jack Nunji, 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 4 from three-point range. Kearns gives off. DeAndre Burns, they'll skip it around. It's Asmus taking Wieskamp. Kearns, the 3 ball with 5 on the shot clock. That's no good. Lufile skies for it, but a push in the back. So it's Elijah Lufile that gets charged with the foul, and that means Iowa gets a chance for a pair at the line.
And you're down to 57 seconds left in the first half, so logically it could be just one possession for each team. But if ORU wants to push it, get something in the first 10 seconds, they can go the NBA 2-for-1, which I'm a big fan of, and I just don't think colleges use it enough. Part of it is just the experience. I think you get players that come in from high schools, and of course they don't do it there, and it's just tough to adjust to say, oh, I got to shoot it quick.
That's one thing a lot of discussion has been around in the state of Iowa is the addition of a shot clock in high school basketball, and a lot of people say it needs to happen, but then there's also the talk of a lot of those small schools where 7 kids go out for the basketball team. Can you continue to push them up and down the floor? But I think there does need to be a point where you look at implementing a shot clock.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as you mentioned, smaller schools, budget-wise, all of a sudden you're getting, especially if you have 2 gyms, because you want to practice with shot clocks.
A. Smith knocks home that three late in this first half. Entry feed to Garza. Goes up against Nezikwezi and finishes. Both these teams, that was a 2-for-1 for Iowa, about a 5-second differential shot clock and game clock. Likely could get an extra possession here unless they give up an offensive board. A. Smith off the screen, gives it up to Burns. Iowa's defense really pressuring that three-point line, and it stifled Oral Roberts. Nezikwezi, no good on that. Battle for the board. Coming down with it is Wieskamp. 5 to go on the game clock. He brings it up the floor. Taking Burns, the runner. That's no good. 1 on the clock, and that'll do it for this first. John Rawson alongside Mac McCausland. A good first half from the Hawkeyes. 55 points on the board. They lead 55-40. And Mac, it was a good first half. What stats stick out to you?
Well, right away, quite frankly, not many rebounds, but that's because both teams shot it pretty well. 47% for ORU and 57.5% for Iowa. And it was just, I call it a clean game. Getting up and down the court just like this. Good activity. Both teams trying to find out how good their offense is. And the one that really stands out, Iowa 13 assists, only 2 turnovers, and that 13 assists was in 19 baskets. So really good offensive play. They've still got to do some things, I think, defensively, especially in that backcourt area, to stop penetration. And like that, open shots, you've got to challenge that basketball.
Connor McCaffrey brings it up. Gives off, it's Frederick. Feed into Garza. Double team comes in. Pass to Nunji. And he finishes off the pass from Luka Garza.
I had a chance to talk to Luka's dad at halftime. And in his opinion, he said, his son played pretty well. But he said he missed 5 free throws. And I said, well, what do you think? He says, yeah, it's probably the best half he's played since he's been at Iowa.
18 first half points from Garza was certainly the backbone of Iowa's 55 first half points, and they look to add to that. Here's Connor McCaffrey, feed into Garza, turnaround hook. That one bounces out, a couple bounces on the rim, and here comes ORU. Sam Kearns directs traffic. Very well-balanced scoring from ORU through their 40 points as that tip-in is good by Nezikwezi. No players in double digits for ORU through the first half, and a little bit some into the second half.
And Garza continues to own the territory around the rim, and that's because of his length.
Nezikwezi giving up 3 inches, 6'8" versus 6'11", so we're definitely seeing that right now. There's Nezikwezi outside. Off the dribble, 15-foot pull-up. Clanks that one. O'Banner misses it, and it's Garza, or rather Nunji with the board as he feeds up, and McCaffrey will run. Connor, turnaround 12-footer, no good. Battle for the board. Garza wants it, but instead it's DeAndre Burns that rips it down.
As disappointed as I'm sure Jack Nunji was in his game, he's got to be pleased with it through the first half. And you can really tell his activity level on defense when he goes back down. He's talking to his teammates where to be, where to switch.
Nezikwezi backing down Garza. Fall away 11-footer, and that one's good. It's Emmanuel Nezikwezi, a couple buckets here in the second half, and ORU still down 15, 59-44. Again to Garza. Double team comes, and he fights through it and finishes. He's a man amongst boys right now. Luka Garza continues to pour. 22 points from Luka Garza on 8 of 12 shooting, including 2 of 2 from downtown. Kearns looking to Nezikwezi. They're trying to get fouls on Garza. Luka, no fouls so far. Nezikwezi on Nunji. And Garza grabs the rebound off the miss.
It's the Garza show right now.
We'll see him running the floor. 3-ball on the trailer. That one rims out. A good look from Garza. Maybe a bit of a heat check with how well he's been playing.
But like you say, you can't argue the shot. It's wide open. He has that range. He's shown it tonight, shown it throughout his career.
Fuquay is stripped. It's Connor McCaffrey. 3-on-1. Wieskamp, dribble, takes it left hand, and we'll see a blocking foul. Crashing to the ground is Sam Kearns. Saw Joe Wieskamp there. That's one thing he's developed. He was working on it his freshman year. We've seen it even more his sophomore year. The dribble, drive to the hoop, and finishing in transition.
You know, he was one of those players that went into the NBA camp and did it more for informational purposes than really to say, hey, I want to enter the draft. And that was what they told him. For the next level, you've got to be able to handle the ball much better than you are here and have a good crossover dribble and at the same time hold your position. And that's hard to do when you haven't been used to it.
One more on the way from Joe Wieskamp. And he knocks home the second one. Now, Ben, what else do you see here on the sideline?
So Lufile just came back in the game. We saw him in the first half put up 4 fouls, which is not the stat line you want to see early. 4 points for the Hawkeyes directly off of those fouls, and they've got him back in already. I'm a little concerned with that for Oral Roberts.
Thanks, Ben. You mentioned Elijah Lufile, 1 in Navy, already 4 fouls. A big man, a good defensive force, but Wieskamp, a long 3, no good. Nunji grabs it, but he's stripped down low. Garza grabs the loose ball and puts it in.
You know, the old adage of Twin Towers has kind of been out of the mode because it's so much drive and dribble, drive and shoot. And these two have looked very well together, playing well together. Because, again, they'd have a different skill set. Garza's really strong inside, and Nunji more flexible on the outside, better shooter.
Well, and we're seeing that even more with a good game from Nunji, where those two can really feed off of each other, and Nunji will stretch the floor maybe a bit more than Garza will, as we're seeing him play a little bit outside. McCaffrey with it. Off the bounce. Offense looks stagnant here in this possession for Iowa. Feed in. It's Garza. Double team comes in. He finishes over Lufile and Luka Garza. They will not stop feeding him right now.
Yeah, what you had right there was a little confusion of what play was being called, and they wanted to make sure to get Nunji on one side as the passer so Garza could dive to the basket. Very well executed.
Welcome back inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. John Rawson alongside Mac McCausland. It's a 67-46 lead for Iowa. They've come out in the second half, fed Luka Garza, who now has 26, a career high. He has a clinic going right now.
He really does, you know, and you look at it and you say, gee, it's easy to do. Well, it's easy because he's skilled, and there's not a lot of effort. Once he gets position, he will do whatever he wants to turn left, turn right, and that's why it looks so easy, is he's skilled with both his feet and both his hands.
Wieskamp, top of the key as Kearns jumping, takes it in and finishes, but they'll call a charge on Joe Wieskamp. Went in, looking for a bucket at the rack, instead runs over Max Asmus, and that's a charge. But for Garza, it's 26 points, 6 rebounds to go with that, a pair of steals as well. It's been all facets of the game for him. He's been successful.
Well, and Wieskamp kind of has struggled his rhythm this year. I think part of it is, again, you want to start playing and improving, and he's not letting the game come to him. He forced it, like forcing that drive on the inside when he could have stopped and just shot maybe a 5-footer.
67-46, Iowa leads. Francis Lotsis on the floor for the first time for Oral Roberts. It's Kearns. Pass over to Asmus. He drives. Circles back around. A skip pass. It's an open Fuquay. 3 on the shot clock. Floater over Garza. No good. And the rebound to Nunji. And we'll see a foul on Jordan Bohannon. Fran McCaffrey not happy. It looked like no one was by Bohannon.
I thought there was air. It's hard to foul air.
Bohannon chuckling about it right now, looking up at the review as we can see it here on the big board. No one's by him.
I think the only person by him was another Iowa player.
Bohannon gets charged with that foul. Luckily only his first, but
you got to remember, it's early in the season for players. It's early in the season for officials.
First couple games for everyone, but Fran McCaffrey right now letting the officials have a piece of his mind right now as Sherman Dillard and Kirk Spear out to hold him back a little bit.
Well, Fran's in midseason form, always.
Lotsis, his first free throw, no good. Fran does spark his team, though, and you'll see that.
Yeah.
You can see that fire to Connor McCaffrey as well, a gritty player. You can see a scratch on his face when he goes out to play. Got cut against DePaul, sat out a minute, got it fixed, he's back. He's a tough physical player, and a lot of that a testament to the kind of fiery guy his dad is. Garza down low, double team comes in. Frederick drives, pull up 13-footer, back iron, no good. Loose ball grabbed by Kearns. Here's Asmus up the floor, takes Creener off the dribble in the paint, and he gets the floater over Luka. Garza. Max Asmus with the bucket. He's had a really solid night. 13 for him to lead ORU.
And just what we said in the first half, Iowa has to find one of those bigs that can stay with a perimeter player. Creener went out on him and let him drive right, which was right to the basket, at least make him go left and fade to the corner.
Bohannon misses the three. Frederick the board and the foul. He finishes a chance for a three-point play. C.J. Frederick, a quiet night, but he's played very well.
Yeah, you're going to love him. You know, over time you're going to find out he has terrific basketball IQ, knowing when to shoot it, when to pass it, and where to go shoot it. And he is a player, as you watch him in shoot-arounds or in practices, he doesn't have just one or two spots. Like there, he took it inside. Got fouled there. He shoots his three from the corner, from the top of the key, where a lot of players get comfortable just in a, like an elbow or a straight-on three.
The Cincy, Ohio native played at Covington Catholic, infamously known for the Covington Crazies, which was rated the craziest high school student section. They sell out every single game, and almost all students, as Lufile finishes in traffic. He gets his first bucket to accompany 4 fouls in only 16 minutes, and Bohannon right back down the floor. Feed, it's Garza, another bucket, 28 points from Luka Garza.
Yep, that's a personal record, having 28 points. And, of course, that goes on other people's scouting reports, which is beneficial to the Iowa players. If they double-team him, you ought to be set, ready to shoot.
Asmus getting pressured from Bohannon. Back out to him. He'll take a long triple, and he splashes that one home. Garza, 28 points as Iowa leads 72-54. And, Mac, this is a career best for him. He scored 25 3 times before that, but today on pace for over 30.
And we said it makes it look easy when he gets good passes from his perimeter players, and then he has balance and then powers through them using his strength of his legs and his shoulders. Now Toussaint is in, and as we said, he had 2 fouls early in that first half, so he had to sit. But I'm anxious to see how he responds now, getting some playing time.
Lufile grabs the board for ORU, and it's Fuquay. Kearns, the trailer, lets it fly. Back iron, no good. Skine for the board, it's Wieskamp. Lufile almost picked up that 5th foul going over the back of Wieskamp. And it looks like he...
Area of emphasis for them for sure.
As you look at it, though, the other side, ORU has only taken 9 free throw attempts. So, again, Iowa outscoring them almost 2-1 then on their free throw side.
The percentage hasn't been great, but they've gotten to the line, and that's 7 points, a part of this big gap that Iowa has. 18 on the board, 72-54.
And the stat that still sticks out, 18 assists and 4 turnovers for Iowa.
Garza taking Kearns, about a foot on the mismatch here. He bodies through him and finishes. Luka Garza, 30 points tonight. He continues a fantastic day. Only 23 minutes to get these 30 points. 20-point lead for Iowa. It's their largest margin. Asmus fires that one. Why not? He's been fantastic today. 16 points on 5 of 9, now 5 of 10 shooting.
Pemsel and Evelyn come in, and these are the 2 players that need more minutes. Evelyn, just from the fact he hasn't played at Iowa in Carver, and Pemsel coming back from last year. They need as many minutes as they can get, so the coaches can evaluate them and they can play with their teammates to know when to cut, where to cut, and Toussaint can, as the point guard, understand where they're going to be next.
Well, we talked about this too earlier. Fran McCaffrey will run a deep rotation, has no problem using the depth. As Creener, the kick out, Evelyn a 3-ball. That one's no good, but Creener the board. The big cat in the lane. loses control of the ball. It's loose. It's grabbed by Fuqua. Up the floor, he streaks, dish off to Burns, and an easy layup. A dish and a bucket, ORU, an easy transition layup.
Yeah, Kriener had a terrific game against DePaul, and here, just 0 points.
Toussaint, a pretty move, but couldn't finish. Got the spin move back towards the wing and missed the open jumper, and Fuqua on the other end finishes over Ryan Kriener.
Well, we said Toussaint will do some things you haven't seen in Carver for a while.
Welcome back inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. John Rawson alongside Mac McCausland. And the third member of our crew, Ben Collin. Ben, you have more on this turnover situation for both of these teams.
Yeah, anybody that saw there, Fran McCaffrey was not happy with the sloppiness over the last couple possessions that we saw there from the Hawkeyes. Now, this has been both ways. It's been a little bit of a rough game for both teams in terms of the turnovers. Probably 5 minutes or so ago, Paul Mills, coach for Oral Roberts, as we see Jordan Bohannon just fire from deep. You like to see that, don't you? But was yelling at his Golden Eagles about protecting the ball. They've been having trouble all night with these cross-court passes, getting those broken up, turning over the ball. It's been tough for both teams, but Oral Roberts really struggling on it. Fran McCaffrey was bugged about it there.
And again, the perimeter gets beat. J-Bo out there. And part of that has got to be injury situation and conditioning. But again, the Hawkeyes have got to find a way to stop the ball, especially on the wing, when they can go left and right.
Fuqua with it, right wing. 17-point lead for Iowa. He takes Bohannon off the dribble, and you can see Bohannon still a step slow right now, recovering from that hip surgery.
And we did talk to him today, and he just doesn't have any idea what he's going to do yet. He just says he's, still has pain at different times, and if he sits, then anybody that sits, I don't care, in a car for very long, you get out of the car, you find out your age pretty quick.
In the corner, it's DeAndre Burns. Skip pass to Asmus, who's been the backbone of ORU, 16 points. Driving the paint and stepping on the out-of-bounds line. It's Sam Kern, got caught in the air and stepped on the out-of-bounds line. Well,
in the fairness of equal opportunity, that time McCaffrey got beat going left. Player got to the baseline, just didn't have anything to do with it. So the last 3 times down court, 3 different players have been beat on perimeter play.
Fran McCaffrey trying to keep his team involved in this game as well. It might be 17 points on the scoreboard, but you can't lax off the gas pedal at this point in the game for sure, as McCaffrey takes the contact from Burns, misses the layup, but he'll see a pair at the stripe.
I really like him going to the basket because he is left-handed, he is strong. The left hand is not something a lot of players are normally used to guarding, and since he is a point guard, he has pretty good vision of being able to drop it off to someone else or throw it in the corner.
McCaffrey knocks home the first foul shot, 4 for 4. He now has 10 points. One of 3 Hawkeyes in double figures, Nunji and Garza, the other 2.
And I don't think he has a turnover. So good work by McCaffrey.
To go along with that 6 assists to no turnovers, he's really found his teammates without throwing away those lazy passes. Kern's with it. Here's Asmus. 30 feet, top of the key, takes the screen. Lotsis wants it. He'll take the 3. Francis Lotsis no good, and McCaffrey comes skying in, knocks it away. .7:55 left to go as a long inbound to Fuqua, and Iowa with a pretty commanding 18-point lead. We might see the bench guys come in the next few minutes or so. But, Mac, it's a bright future for Iowa, not only now but also future recruits.
Yeah, this is the recruiting period and signing day. And Iowa, disappointed not getting a couple recruits. But, as usual, Fran McCaffrey works very hard at it. I've seen a number of coaches over the years, and few people work harder than he does in knowing families, knowing the kids, knowing AAU and high school coaches. And, of course, it never hurts when you get a legacy. And I was able to do that with Keegan Murray and Chris Murray, which was the sons, twin sons of Kenyon Murray, and they were in prep school, and both about 6'7", 6'8", and the other night they scored like 56 points between them, so that gives you a little help. And then Tony Perkins, who is out of Indiana, and his high school is like 2,700 kids, Lawrence North. And if you think you've heard of Lawrence North, well, Greg Oden and Mike Conley, Eric Montrose, all came from there, and he started as a junior, so that's a pretty good situation. And then, when you look back a couple years ago,
it's a beautiful feed from McCaffrey to Craner for the easy dunk.
Iowa recruited Tyler Eulis and got down to Iowa and Kentucky, but you just never burn a bridge. And Fran stayed with the family, and along came a second brother, Aaron, who actually is about 6 inches taller, and a point guard, well thought of in the Chicago area. And Iowa is waiting for some paperwork to come at least on one more recruit, and so we can't talk about it until the paperwork is finalized. But in the end, Iowa moved up quite well in the recruiting area.
Did miss out on Xavier Foster. That was the big one that Hawkeye fans wanted. Went to Iowa State, even though he grew up an Iowa fan, not too far. But Iowa State lands that big recruit. But you mentioned it, Iowa did go out. They've done a nice job so far. And that big one, Aaron Eulis, that's one that is going to be a big name for the Hawkeyes in the future.
And they got him early. It's just like in talking to him on his visit, he just said, Coach McCaffrey just was really good to us and the family the whole time. And then when Tyler went elsewhere, didn't change his attitude. He liked us, liked my dad. So those things certainly do help long term.
Just under 5:45 to go in this game. Iowa a 16-point lead.
And even looking at the freshman now, C.J. Frederick. Fran had coached his uncle at Notre Dame. And again, kept family ties. So you never know where it starts or ends in the recruiting trail.
Max Asmus, who just hit that last three for ORU, 23 points. The next best scorer is Nezekwezi with only 11. So really nice game from the young freshman in Asmus, who's been a high trigger guy, as a bucket goes for Jack Nungy.
Yeah, Asmus has got to make Coach Mills feel awfully good. And now he's that good a shooter. You can recruit around him. You can find a point guard that wants to play with him. You can find a big that knows he'll be open on the same side. Players know players. And when you get somebody that has a good reputation, especially as a freshman or sophomore, makes your career a little better.
Long pass for Wieskamp. Skies for it. Back dribble, gives off to Garza. Ball fake in the paint, loses the handle, runs over Fuquay. Loose ball grabbed by Asmus. 3-on-2, here comes Oral Roberts. Back, Nezekwezi through the contact, and one on Jordan Bohannon. Emmanuel Nezekwezi in traffic, takes the hack from Bohannon, finishes the layup. He'll see a three-point play.
Little physical play by Garza at the other end. Maybe he's getting ready for the Minnesota-Iowa football game tomorrow, huh?
Big game for Iowa against undefeated Minnesota, top 10 team Walton into Kinnick. And Family Weekend, I mentioned this at the top of the broadcast. It's brought a few fans out to watch this basketball game, but it will certainly show in football, a game that starts at 3, but in Iowa at this time, nighttime is 4:30, so it's going to be a night game by the second quarter.
And that means long tailgate time.
Yep.
And it looks like terrific weather for this time of year, about 40 degrees, sun out. So Hawkeye fans, and when you listen to national sports people, and out in Las Vegas, there's a couple stations. Of course, they have gambling now everywhere in the world.
Show on what that review is for, as it was ruled a flagrant 2 on RJ Fuquay, which means he's been disqualified from the contest, and we got that explanation. It was excessive contact to a player vulnerable for injury, as Wieskamp up in the air, got undercut by Fuquay, took a hard tumble. He's okay, but a dangerous situation.
Yeah, and that's why they call it, is he was in a vulnerable position to, come down, really have a serious back injury, ankle injury, or even neck and head. And we appreciate Larry Scott to come over and explain it to us and make sure we get it correct. Every sport is more concerned, I think, about injury. than they ever have been before.
Nunji in the paint, misses the scoop layup. Ball battling around. Garza grabs the loose one. McCaffrey wants it at the top, and they'll feed him. McCaffrey in the lane. Caught in traffic, kicks out a Nunji 3-ball. Misses that one. Ball heads out of bounds. It will stay with Iowa with 3:46 to go.
One thing I noticed there, when Nunji shot it, he was more upright. And this is the thing that players even have to talk to themselves about. Late in the game, try and get yourself a little lower to get a little more strength. You may not think you're tired, but your legs are. And they lose a little spring, and he ended up shooting that with his wrist.
Nunji back irons another one. Rebound to Nezukwesi, and here comes DeAndre Burns for Oral Roberts. They're only down 12, not too long ago 20, but they've put together a nice run. And now we have a foul on the floor. They call that on Connor McCaffrey.
Now, Connor's one of those, I swear he hasn't had a foul yet in his career.
That's a little bit of that fire from Fran McCaffrey as well as that.
Yeah.
Could be a pair of shots.
And he just looked, he said, all I did was tear his head off. Yeah, he still can walk.
DeAndre Burns for the foul shot. It is a 1-and-1. Only 9 Iowa fouls. And he makes the first one. He'll see the second end of this 1-and-1.
Well, over the years, I've always talked about when the Hawkeyes are going to win, you got to get the chips and salsa out because you want to have a little party. So I would at least go to the refrigerator and start seeing what's in the cabinets and in the fridge.
Not quite 100% over yet, but it is 10 points with 3:30 to go. If Iowa can get a little bit of a rally going down the last 3:30, certainly can get those chips and sauce out and get the fiesta ready.
And you've really got the starting lineup out there except Bohannon now running the point. And you've got very good free throw shooters with Wieskamp and Frederick and Bohannon. And then your two bigs who have just been terrific, both of them.
Frederick, open three. Back iron, no good. Big loose ball gather by Frederick. Off to Garza. He can't finish. Takes a tumble. And it appears they call a charge. Luka Garza, an offensive foul. You mentioned the starters for Iowa still out. This is a game where Iowa would like to get their bench in, but Oral Roberts still hanging around a 10-point game. They could make this a 3-possession game with the bucket here.
Exactly the situation. Now you've really got to be intense on defense. I mean, nobody is there. Oof.
Banner has that one rattle out. It stays with Oral Roberts, tapped out by Jack Nunji. Just a handful of ticks under 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, and ORU had some really nice out-of-bounds plays they ran in shoot-around. But we'll see if Iowa's able to withstand and push it out. Make them, good job. They jammed.
Inbound to Burns, or rather to Kearns from Burns. A rhyme scheme there, a poet, and I didn't even know it, Mac.
I thought they'd look for a quick hitter. Well, they got it inside.
Banner thought he might have gotten hacked, but no call from the officials, and Iowa will slow things down as the pressure trap may be going to come up soon. 2.5 left to go.
And I would expect Oral Roberts to look inside when they first come down to try and get Iowa to foul them, stop the clock, so they have a bigger and better chance time-wise to come up and then be able to take threes the last minute of the game.
10 on the clock. C.J. Frederick, top of the key. Goes opposite the screen from Garza. Bohannon, corner three. Rattles out. Garza fights for it. He has the board. Finishes, no, rather can't quite finish. Almost the finish, but instead we'll see a foul on the floor. See who that foul is charged to.
I think it's going to be ORU reaching down. Well, nope.
Might have called that one on Luka Garza in the paint after missing that potential putback.
Asmus was discussing it with the official. Maybe he was just trying to say, hey, let me go down there and shoot.
He has had a nice game, 23 points as DeAndre Burns airmails that one. Just under 2 minutes to go. Luka Garza, 30 points, 9 rebounds. He's just a board away from a double-double.
This is where I expect the veteran Bohannon, Wieskamp to take that down inside 20 seconds. Garza, a little quick shot. You don't need it, especially with what he's done inside.
Minute 40 to go. It's A-Smith, the runner from 12, gets it to go. It's an 8-point game with a minute and a half.
And you've got Nazaquiri sprained his ankle, and he's jumping out there just on 1 foot. And they are going to call it an injury situation. Now, this would make me upset as a coach. He was injured at the other end. You could see him limping, but they waited till he got down where Iowa was in the attack mode, and then they called the timeout. I would have said you should have called it earlier or wait until after the possession. But he is definitely got a severe sprain or some type of ankle injury, taking pressure off both his legs right now.
Yeah, a couple coaches and a trainer over there to help Nezukwesi to the bench. Battled through it to get down the floor. Very impressive. Good physical play from him as Wieskamp finishes at the hoop, but you also hope he's okay. In a game like this early in the year, you never want to see someone's player go down like that.
Well, especially the key player for you last couple of years that you build around and makes things a little easier for some of the other players.
A fifth-year senior. Never want to see someone go down their last year of eligibility, so hopefully nothing long-term as A-Smith fires that three, no good. Nunji, the rebound, he grabs his 10th board. That's a double-double, 14 and 10. This has been a great game for Nunji.
Yeah, and right now, Bohannon, it wouldn't surprise me if he just takes it down and even turns the ball over and just have one possession for ORU.
15 seconds on the shot clock, 30 on the game clock now. Iowa leads by 10. Frederick feeds Bohannon. He'll fake it, fire the open three, and he splashes that one home. Just a confidence boost for Bohannon.
Yeah. Nice job by the Hawkeyes tonight. 33% from three, 58 from the free throw line, which you don't like to see. But they really did a nice job, just 8 turnovers and 21 assists. And that'll be the ball game. Get the chips, get the salsa, have fun.
The clock expires and Iowa comes 38 of them. It's R.J. Fuqua as well as Emmanuel Nezukwesi. For the Iowa Hawkeyes, it's been the same starting 5. It's Jack Nunji, C.J. Frederick, Joe Wieskamp, Connor McCaffrey, and Luka Garza.
Yeah, when you look again at ORU, they have got
only 27% from three, but they've attempted the 8th most in the country at 32 per game. But we're set for the tip. It's O'Banner versus Nunji. Hawkeyes in white, Eagles in navy.
Hawkeyes get it, and I would expect both teams to start man-to-man. Both coaches prefer that. They want to stop the basketball. It's hard to stop it when you're in a zone.
Nunji with it, drive, left-hand finish, too far, and Nezukwesi with the board.
And you could see right there the coaches and the players wanting to get Nunji going early, let him take his man one-on-one, got to the rim, and threw it over the backside of the rim.
Emmanuel Nezukwesi knocks down the open three at the top of the key, and McCaffrey brings it back up the floor. Nezukwesi, a big man, 6'8", but can stroke it 50% from three.
Yeah, both of the big players. And when you look out there, Nezukwesi has done it for a couple years, and O'Bannon just starting.
And Garza with the answer. 2 big men stretching the floor in the early going. Another answer, and that one's too long by A-Smith, and the rebound to Frederick.
And you saw how A-Smith got down court, and it was like 1-on-3, and he still put it up. Nunji.
Jack Nunji with the three, and Iowa back-to-back trays, one by Garza, and now one by Nunji.
And right away, the coaching staff got up and said, hey, just because he made it doesn't mean we don't play defense. He's yelling at him to get back because, as you've already seen, ORU really pushes the basketball. And as you indicated, they shoot threes. Half their shots are three-point shots.
That three ball by Jack Nunji was actually his first field goal this year, coming off the redshirt year. A little rusty, but maybe seeing that ball go in the hoop could be good for him.
You know, against DePaul, you could really tell. Looked like he had kind of the starry-eyed look. He stood around, wasn't really in the flow of the game. And that'll happen when we have to sit out here.
Burns trucks over Frederick, an offensive foul. Frederick takes the charge, possession switches. It's 6-3, only threes in the early going of this one.
I thought it was interesting today at the shoot-around when we talked to CJ. I said, does it stand for anything? And he said, Charles Joseph Frederick Jr. I said, well, it's a good thing they don't have to put it all on your jersey.
Nunji hits that one as well, a 15-footer from the baseline. He's got 5.
That's where they got to relax him a lot and actually relax his teammates because they like him. They want him to get going. They know somebody 7 foot that can shoot like he can could be really important in the Big Ten.
Feed, it's Nezekwezi, faces up on Nunji. Reverse layup, that one's good. Nezekwezi off the dribble.
Yeah, Nezekwezi showing you he could probably play in a higher league than the Summer League. And he's got the thick body, and now Nunji looking to go again.
It's Frederick outside. Grabbed by Burns on the board. You mentioned Nezekwezi could play somewhere else. Right around 15 points per game. Leads the team in rebounds with over 7.5, but the runner good from DeAndre Burns.
And that's something they missed last year. That point guard who knew and understood how to be a point in terms of either passing or shooting, and there he used the floater.
Garza with it, double team collapses, kick out, McCaffrey. Back iron no good, corral for the ball, it's gathered by Fuqua and it's up ahead. Burns with the top of the key. It's Nezekwezi taking Nunji once again in the paint. Kick out, it's Fuqua, dish off. Nezekwezi can't get that one to go, and Nunji grabs the rebound. Iowa looks to run.
Well, you could really see last time down court with the defensive philosophy is going to be of ORU double anytime it goes inside. And that was something you could see on the tape with the DePaul game. They just doubled Iowa every time it went inside.
Worked for DePaul. They got out to a 13-0 run to start that game. Never looked back. Iowa didn't have an answer throughout that game, and this is their chance to get back. The lone bright spot in that game, Joe Toussaint and Ryan Creener, they had a pair, but Toussaint, a lot of fans wanted him to get a start, but we mentioned before this one, you don't make a lineup change after one bad game.
Yeah, one bad game or one good game doesn't get you a starting position, especially since you've been working with one unit primarily for the last 4 weeks, and you're comfortable where you are, and you understand that Fran is very good about rotating players, and if you play well in a game, you're going to stay in there, and if you're not playing well, you're going to sit out.
Garza misses the front end of a pair. Iowa's 25th in the country. Field free throw percentage right around 80% as Garza sinks the second one. It's 9-7 in favor of Iowa. Early press from Iowa, and it forces a turnover.
Yep. Good pressure. It has to be disappointing for Coach Mills because they worked on Iowa's pressure during their shoot-around, and he really had a good press break. But there's a difference when somebody 6'8", 6'9" charges at you.
Oral Roberts didn't get here to Carver Hawkeye till about 6:10. A lot of traffic. It's family weekend and a big football game coming up. McCaffrey, kick out, it's Frederick. Off the dribble, stops, dish to Nunji, and he gets the layup to go. Amidst some traffic, O'Banner to charge, but Nunji the layup.
Already the Iowa team, I mean, if you said, is this a basketball team? They look like it, they act like it. They've got some intensity about them at the defensive end. And so far, the basketball IQ has been good, except at the defensive end. They've got to really stop the ball.
O'Banner throws that away. It's McCaffrey, Wieskamp in front. The dish to him, and the layup is good. Iowa running the floor. Connor McCaffrey gets the assist there. Connor leads the team in assists, averaging 3 per game right now. He's taken over as the starting one guard with the question marks around Jordan Bohannon. Nezekwezi, his shots blocked.
And with Connor, we talked again to Coach McCaffrey today, and he said he's going to try and use him at all 3 perimeter spots. That way he can get quickness at the guards and still have pretty good size with Connor at the 3 position.
McCaffrey listed at 6'5", but it was 6'6" Joe Wieskamp, the guard, with the layup there. O'Banner, 3-ball, splashes it home. Kevin O'Banner knocks that down. He's been struggling from the floor, only 25%, but he bangs that one home. Frederick off the dribble. He's fouled. It's Fuqua that gives the... Well, Welcome back to Carver Hawkeye Arena. Iowa an early 5-point lead, 15-10 over Oral Roberts. John Rawson, Mac McCausland with me, as well as the third member of our crew, Ben Collin. Inbound, it's McCaffrey. Nunzi with the ball. And Ben, talk a little bit about what Jack has brought and the offseason changes he's had.
Yeah, it looks like some newfound confidence from him tonight. These first couple games, he looked a little rusty. Didn't have a field goal in the opening games for the Hawkeyes. Now tonight, he's already got 7 points on the board, and we're seeing him shoot right here. It looks like he started to find his mojo again. He's put on 20